We have two pieces of information from the same subject. For us, specifically, these variables, they have to be numerical. They cannot be categorical. It has to be numerical. So, the way that we're going to start this is like we started talking about everything. So, as you think back about the course, like the first few days is going to be vocabulary, and then we talk about the different types of studies, and then after you gather information, and then the first thing that you do with this information is you make a graph. So that's going to be the same thing here. The first thing that we do with this is we're going to make a graph. The graph of this is actually called a scatter plot. The nice thing is that there's only one graph. It's not like a histogram or a dot plot or a 7-way plot or anything else. It's just a scatter plot. And typically, it could look something like this. So, let's see if you guys remember or can make your wonderful algebra teacher proud. You guys remember your Algebra 1 teacher? I had Mrs. Olson. And now realize I am old. So how long ago was this? I still remember my Algebra 1 teacher. Actually, I remember all my teachers up until like 7th grade, until I had like multiple of them. Chris Lowell was my kindergarten teacher. I remember where I sat. I remember the girl that I had a crush on. That's fine. She could run faster than me. That's literally why I liked her. I'm so stupid, right? So let's see if your guys' algebra teacher can make them proud. What is this horizontal axis called? That is the x-axis. Very good. Look at you. Somebody's very proud of you. Now we're going to get to the much harder one. What is the vertical one called? Y. Oh, yay! And when you guys get home, write your Algebra 1 teacher a little note to be like, I use the information you taught me. Send. Smiley face. Unfortunately for this class, we're not going to use x and y. And it'll just make life more difficult for you. This guy down here, this is where the explanatory variable goes. I feel like that we've used this word before. What do we use explanatory for? Remember? It wasn't quite the first section.
It's for the independent variable.
I messed up right there. I was going to put those two together after I had done that. Yeah, you guys remember doing this? This was for experiments. This is the same thing. This is still an explanatory variable. So it's easy to think about creating a scatter plot with an experiment. So in fact, we can do it with, what did we use? I had you guys, we like made an egg, right? I had you guys like microwave an egg. That was the experiment. So along here would be the different times that you have, that you designated. And then along here would be some sort of numerical scale on how you felt about that particular egg. It's a little bit like that. But easy way to remember that the explanatory variable goes along here. This guy's an x, that guy's an x. Super easy. The vertical axis. Well, what did we put here? What did we measure at the end of the study to determine if something worked? It was a specific response. And that's what this is. This is the response. So with this, what we try to do is we try to think of experiments. It doesn't have to be, but it naturally follows it a lot easier if we do it with experiments. All right, this guy right here. This is typically given as an x and a y, and it's the same thing, with the x being the explanatory variable, the y being the response variable. Now, pretty much the gist of what we're going to do with this. Eventually, what we're going to do is we don't want to deal with the graph itself. We'd rather deal with what is called a model. And this model is going to represent all the data points. So, what we would like to do is we'd like to represent all the data points with a line. Ideal, and then we'll just have to talk about the slope of a line and the y-intercept of a line, which this is why I'm referencing your guys' Algebra 1 teacher, right? That will be very, very important to us, and all that line stuff from before. So that I don't have to deal with this guy, I can just deal with the model of the line. It just makes my life significantly easier, especially because it's just a line. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to do eventually. But for now, I just want to describe this. So, to describe this, let's see. I'm not going to go through an exhaustive list of terms here, but let me see, what do we use for histograms? Does a peak make sense for a graph that looks like this? I think so. Not like, that's definitely a peak, right? This guy right here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show a trend. So a peak doesn't necessarily work, even if it looks something like this. I wouldn't necessarily call that a peak. I would just say that the trend goes up and then comes around and goes back down, right? So peak doesn't work. What about a gap? You guys see a gap? How about now? You see a gap like right around in here someplace? So gap still works. What about clusters? You guys see two clusters? Clusters still work. What about outliers? Gaps, clusters, outliers. What about that guy? Is he different than the rest? Yeah, does he still follow the trend? Yeah, he still follows the trend, but he is definitely different than the rest. So he would be identified as an outlier. Gaps, clusters, outliers. Peaks don't work, symmetry doesn't work. So we need a few other terms here. We have to describe the trend. So what I mean by this is my graph increasing or is it decreasing? So I'm hoping that you guys all know how to read a graph. Right, you read a graph from the left to the right. When I taught algebra, this is what I did. Or my little dude going, is he going up the hill or is he going down the hill? He's going up the hill. So what is my trend? Increasing or decreasing? Increasing. So with trend, we can say that it is increasing or decreasing. Also, with the trend, we have to describe what does this mean. And we'll do an example, so this will be a little bit more sense about the second part. We could say that there is a line or a curve that represents the data. Right, mine is a line. This guy right here would be a curve. It goes up and turn around and go back out. This guy is definitely not linear, so it's not a line. So typically I'll say that a line represents the data, or there is a linear relationship, or there's a curved relationship between the two. Those are typically the vocab that I use. Strength. The strength of relationship. This makes a perfectly straight line, right? Actually, it's pretty good, right? Is my line okay? Is it straight? I'm done for today. I'll see you guys on. You guys have a good weekend. This, I would say, has a strong relationship. We can say that something has a moderate relationship. So this just means that the data is going to be a little bit more spread out, right? It's not going to be nearly as definitive like this. So maybe need a rainbow. This is more of a moderate strength, right? I would say that this is a moderate curved relationship. Does that make sense? What do you think weak looks like?
All spread out.
Yeah, think of like a horror movie and blood splatters everywhere. So here would be like this. Which way is my graph going? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it linear? Is it curved? It's nearly impossible to tell. So when I say weak, this is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking that there is just dots all over the place, and it's nearly impossible for me to tell if there's a linear or a curved relationship. We can say that there is constant or varies in strength. So if it varies in strength, this would be an example of, actually, these two guys right here would be of constant strength. So what I mean by constant strength is it doesn't change. This is strong all the way through the graph. This is still moderate all the way through the graph. If I say that it varies, this means that it changes from one strength to another strength. So something like this. This is strong at the beginning, right? And then it varies to a more weak relationship between the two. Great. Is this great? The last thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to identify what the explanatory variable is, what the response variable is, and what the cases are. So, note. Variables and the cases. Great. So let's make one. Let's hope this works because apparently her thing. All right. So go into Blackboard, and there's I'm gonna have you guys upload data so that we're all looking at the same thing and we're gonna actually know what it looks like, rather than the stuff that's already on there. Okay, so in Blackboard, at the bottom of the learning content, right, there's a guess the correlation. We'll get to the correlation stuff either at the end of this class or the beginning of the next one, depending on how much energy I want to exert today. I'm kind of tired, I don't know. I'm like struggling to ask today. I don't know what it is about me. I have some. It's in here, but I don't drink enough. It's the 4 miles I think today. You guys run 4 miles today? I shouldn't have. Alright, so I want you guys to click on where it says hotdog.csv. So this is important because in order to upload data into SALT, everything has to be a CSV file. And that is literally called a comma delimited file. So you have it looks exactly like an Excel worksheet. Like if I click on this guy, because I've already downloaded it, it is literally going to look exactly like an Excel spreadsheet. Right? So whenever we save a sheet, so this is what I was going to suggest that you do. You can copy your data into Excel, save it as a comma delimited CSV file, and then you can upload it right into Excel. So you can, if it's not going to load for you, just save it and then just go around it. Does that make sense? All right. So now go over to SALT. Google it on the page. Wait. I don't know. I didn't know where you were. Because I saw you guys talking, and I'm like, I don't know when you guys were paying attention. I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out why mine's not opening up to Excel.
Oh, it shouldn't, like, you have to like click on it too, but like, I just need you guys just to download it. Right, you see where it says upload CSV?
No.
Who said no?
I just don't know. Yeah.
I'm having issues getting it.
All you, when you click on it, what does it do?
It pulls up webassign.net and then it says like no access.
Yeah.
Like this site can't provide a secure connection.
Like when you put it in the homework, you install it, it opens up properly. So when I go into stuff on the tab, it doesn't do it.
So when you click on salt, you get this page here. Do you see the same thing that I see?
No. Not if you look it up. If you go through the homework and hit use salt for a specific region, it comes up. But if we look it up on Safari for ourselves, it doesn't come up. Well, I'm using Google. Well, she's using Google. Actually, no, I'm using Bing.
But it works on
Oh, I'm not even different.
the Microsoft Edge. You can pull it up on this.
So it works on Edge.
This makes no sense.
Apple's like the big.
Okay, wait, I found it. You have to click the statistical analysis one, so scroll down.
You don't see this view?
No, it didn't come on the box.
Oh.
For me, it's just a salt send gauge, and then there's a whole bunch of other ones.
So even if you did this one, it still take you. So it's just because it's not the first one on yours.
You have to look for the statistical analysis.
Right, does everybody have this page?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Mine look clear.
For your data?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I wouldn't know how to download that. I don't know.
You wouldn't know how to do what?
Like, do I have to download that?
You just like download it onto, just save it as a file someplace on your computer.
I don't need the Excel. Because it's not opening up.
It's the same thing as this. You can just download it.
This was supposed to be easy.
Is it supposed to look like this one? That? How am I supposed to upload it?
Have you saved it? I don't know what's an apple. How do you save things? What?
Oh, no, I don't
See, when I click on this, it automatically gets saved into a download file. So like here, I have, under your downloads, I have multiple versions of it. However it saves, it's gotta save something. It don't should be able to save it. And then when you figure out how to save it.
I just right click, I double click it, and it's gonna save page as.
Okay.
No, but if you look at it,
Wait, does that have to go?
Did you guess? Do you have it?
yeah, I pulled it up.
Okay.
He doesn't have an apple.
Exactly. It's anybody without an apple seems to be working just fine.
Let me just go buy another laptop.
No, don't do that. I'm just fine. All right. Click the upload CSV. I'm uploading. I'm selecting.
Which one?
You said 5 times, but you just don't know which one you want us to press. You want us raw,
Yes.
or two-way?
Raw.
Okay.
Thank you.
Select all.
Wow.
Now it's actually
Now it actually only won't work.
Did you guys get it?
No.
No, Yeah.
got it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You would get it? Of course you would get it.
Did you get it?
The what?
Does your page look like this?
It's so let's go.
Yeah, you have it. What are you doing?
I got it.
You got it, you got it, you guys have it? You. Just
Stop this aside.
sit here. Answer any text that here.
Oh my god.
You guys have it, do you have it? I'm not talking to you, you have it. You have it, so you can tell me first. You guys have it? No, you can sit here.
No, it's like the freaking, let's,
Get it? What? Alright.
How is that wrong?
I don't know. So now that we all have this somewhat looking page, hopefully somewhere other than hers, I don't know what she's doing. So let's just create a graph from this. So scroll down until you see the graphs and distribution. No, I'm sorry. Charts and graphs. Charts and graphs. Couldn't remember what the words were. Click on scatter plot. So now it is going to ask us which one is the x and which one is the y. For us, for this particular example, it doesn't really matter. Just click calories for the x and sodium for the y. And that is a scatter plot. Oh, did I? So looking at this, just verbally, I just want to go through it, I just want to describe this. So what I mean by that, are there gaps?
Yes.
How many? You see 2 gaps. Don't overthink it. Don't do every single possible gap, right? Just like what we're doing with the histogram stuff. So you see 2 gaps. How many clusters? 3 clusters? Here's an important question. How many outliers?
2.
There's a lot. There could be a lot, right? Okay. Do we all agree that? Wait, where's your one outlier?
The very bottom. Like the lowest,
No,
not
lower.
way lower. It's
No,
down by your
go
line.
back.
The number
Oh,
line.
right there.
Yeah, that guy.
This guy?
Yeah.
What about this one?
Yes.
It's technically yeah.
And the
You
one
could say
next
that
to
one.
it.
And the one next to it?
You could say that one.
I had one semester, one class said that those 5 right there were outliers. I'm like, you're gonna spend a lot of time explaining things. Do you understand why they would say that they're outliers? Like, how are they different than everything else?
They're a little farther away from the line.
How are they farther? Right, because you can't just say that they're farther away because we can be specific about this. How are they farther away from the line? What would you have to do to these dots to make them back in line?
You have to lower the sodium.
You have to, right, these have got a higher sodium intake for the amount of calories in which we thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What about this guy right here?
For sure.
He's definitely an outlier. How do you make him normal?
Add more sodium.
Right, so this guy right here has significantly less sodium for the amount of calories that it has. Does that make sense? So now we can actually get into a discussion about how are they outliers, right? So that guy right there has got less sodium than what I expected. This group over here has got more sodium than what I expected for the same amount of calories. So we can include that in our discussion in outliers. Trend. What does that mean? Increase correlation. Yes. So she's right there. As one goes up, the other one goes up as well, but we can be a little bit better than just saying as one goes up, the other one goes as well. Because we can say as calories go up, the sodium must also go up. Right? That's what it means to have a positive relationship. Yeah.
Would it be okay to describe that as a direct proportion?
Yeah, that's fine for me. And then let me see what else is there. Linear or curved? I think that it's linear as well. Like when I see this, I see a line going through. Do I have a blue marker?
It's right.
Save myself a whole step. I see it like this. Is that how you guys see it? And in fact, there's a nice little button up there that will say regression line. If we click on it, we can see how close I am to this.
Wow. Okay.
I've been doing this for a while. I mean, no, that's random, total lucky. I'm going to be playing the Powerball, and if I win, I'm not coming in here on Tuesday, so good luck to you guys.
Wow.
Seriously, what would you do?
I'm gonna work.
Would you really? If you won the Powerball, would you still finish your job? At my age, I'm 62. I'm retiring.
You don't care about your students, that's all.
Right now.
How many outliers are there?
Like just something to do.
It is, okay, so the 5 could be an outlier, as long as you can explain it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let me see here. Strong, moderate, or weak? Remember, weak means that you cannot determine a pattern at all.
Moderate.
I'd probably say moderate. If anything, you can actually, somebody could say that it varies, right? It's semi-strong here, and then it gets weaker, more moderate in the middle, sort of thing. I would categorize this as just moderate, because to me, I'm thinking of it as I'm pretty much the same width all the way throughout the entire thing. That's how I'm looking at this. Yeah.
Okay, because the lines are like the dots, they're like going like this, it would be moderate. But if it was weak, it would be like if it was like a few dots like on the top and then like.
Yeah, it'd be hard to determine like what the pattern actually is if it's moderate. Okay, does this make sense? And then let me see here. What's the variable? There's 2 of them. Which one? What is the explanatory variable? Calories. And what is the response? Sodium. What are the cases? What's the cases? What's this about? What are this up? What's this up? Hot dogs. So yeah, these are different brands of hot dogs. Alright. Oh look, I'm passing stuff out. What do you do? Near twin. Hey, you said it, I didn't. There, here's that group over there. Alright. Yeah.
I'm sorry, like if you have a weak relationship with does that mean like automatically there's no line, there's no curve, you're not gonna get it?
Right, it'll be next to impossible to describe that. Alright, so with this, same thing. I actually have something there, and the reason why I wanted to do this is because I wanted you guys to have a formal thing that you guys can take home with you, rather than trying to recreate this, because I thought that this would go shitty. Somebody in here is going to have a bunch of apples, and then they're not going to love them. So I was actually kind of happy that I was just going to make everybody close all their Apple computers and just go to a regular one and just look at this. That's literally what I was going to do. I had a backup plan. But I wanted this right here so that you guys can actually literally formally go through it so that you have something to take home, so you have something that you can actually study for the exam. What I'm thinking about doing with this is I'm thinking about turning this into like a multiple choice type question, which can be very confusing. So I wanna make sure that we understand all the details for this stuff. Okay, so find your chum, go through, I gave you guys plenty of space. Find your chum, write it out.
Complete sentences.
Yes, complete sentences, absolutely, 100%. When you're done. You have a chum? You wanna join a chum? You can join him back there. See?
Do you mind if I do
No
that?
problem, yeah. So, you understand it so far?
When he said variables, I thought he meant like what we went over, like the explanatory and response verbs.
Supposed to describe it based on the information you gave us. Being that it's kind of on a line like this.
It looks somewhat curved, but I guess you could just do a straight line down.
Yeah, so when he said that, he said it was a strong relationship. So,
Moderate.
yeah. The middle one, you see how we have there, moderate, you see the curve? And then you see how the one on the left is strong, so it would be closer to the strong, I think. So if you made a line through them, it'd be something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So okay, so we can put down strong relationship.
I'm very white and I'm very Midwest. I've never heard of it. No, okay, so this is a real question then. So, is it really full? Like, do you?
It's called a scatter plot.
Taking hers sounds better. You saying what the
They want us to be specific.
You kind of say.
The explanatory variable would be the percentage of high school graduates taking the exam, I think.
Do you think that's the case?
I think that would be it, yeah.
I didn't get a chance to read the top. Could it be SAT scores?
It's gonna be one or the other. I think it's this one. But I don't know. I'm just as new as you.
He'll give us the answers eventually.
State high school graduation.
Oh, yours is the percentage taking the, that's along the bottom of the percentage taking the exam. Percentage taking, and then the other one is.
Do we need to put the location of the gap?
You absolutely have to put the location of the gaps, yes.
It's pretty much on one gap.
Yeah.
In the middle, right? What about outliers? What do you think about outliers?
I would say maybe like this one at most. Other than that, I don't think I really see any.
So we're gonna go
Maybe the one at the
one
top.
outlier?
Yeah, maybe. That was the idea.
So you have to do there and it's actually a huge pain. That's why I'm making it a multiple choice question rather than.
Okay, so for each. So 45 to let's say 1 Oh, sure. There's two clusters.
Well, it's not. There's some people that said that it's clear, but I don't think it is.
I said, I was
It's more like a slide.
Overall shape.
This is number 3. This is what you said. The strong trend.
Yeah, I wrote it here. The regression line is consistent with a strong relationship. So you can put that down. And then the overall shape.
And that's the hard part about the beginning is where you put in the detail and where you don't.
Downward trend,
Vector
right?
or something?
Yeah, downward vector, okay.
It's like there's a cluster up there. With the points in the middle, you consider that to be part of it? Yeah, one like non-one.
Yeah. For yeah, for
Strong,
doing the
definitely
clusters,
strong.
they were trying to decide
Right.
would be like 8 or 5.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I think it varies more in strength
Towards the end.
towards the end because these are more clustered together.
Yeah,
So it's going to vary more.
I can see that.
So the variation is going to be more. So increased variation. Variation.
Oh, we have to do the next one. Thank you. Wow, that's just got something.
Increase in percentage. Explanations for this pattern. Any explanations for this pattern?
The more students that take exams, the lower their scores. I guess because, say it's like few students taking the exams and they score highly, but the more students that take the exams, it seems like their average is lower because of like what we talked about with means. And how like one student getting a 0 will bring the average down. Maybe it's like that.
Some more exposure to the lower IQ students.
Yes.
I don't even know how to explain it.
Yes. Now, how do we say that in a really
I know, politically, right?
political way?
Yeah.
Let's see.
And I don't want to use like special, right? 'Cause
We could just say
you know what? To the lower achieving students. How's that?
that works.
That works, right?
It's gonna be multiple choice. Because there won't be enough time. Time's gonna be a problem. The entire class. And so, just see how frustrated I can make it. Typically what I do is I will be here 5 minutes early and I'll do it 5 minutes. You'll finish. There will be someone that will be here till the entire time.
Careful.
Across the perimeter.
The problem is there's a bunch of reading. Or you could do it all in front. I just spread it all out.
Everything looks good.
I had a nice pencil. I don't know where it went. This one.
Yeah,
I used to have. Oh, here it is.
it's the little things really.
Yeah.
A nice writing pen or pencil.
Reason?
So you're taking this class for health science or what?
Yeah, health sciences. Are you a nursing student?
I've been a nurse for a long time. I'm just like recycling credits now.
Oh, that's good. My mom, she's back in school here as well. But she wants her LPN. But she wants me to go into nursing. I'm like, sure.
That's not what that graph is saying.
You'll be alright.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just gotta stay dedicated. It's a lot of busy work.
I'm excited for the science classes.
Yeah, I did them all already. They're great. I love them.
Yeah.
Especially microbiology.
Yeah.
One of the most relevant classes I like for nurses. Everything you learn in that class has to do with it.
Really?
Everything you do on a day-to-day basis. It's so good. It's so good.
I never got to take micro yet, but I'm excited for it.
You'll like it. I have them all on a voice recorder too.
Really?
I'm planning on putting them on YouTube at some point.
That'd be good.
And then like linking people up with that.
That would be really nice, especially as a study tool. Like, what I like about the homeworks for this class are the videos that go with it. Not all of the questions have it though, just some of them.
Yeah, some of them have links for the text too. I like that.
And that helps as well.
Yeah, I gotta finish. I gotta finish taking the T's test and then go back in and recycle all my classes.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. Nothing good comes easy, as they say.
So as I was going,
Sometimes while we're in the middle of class, he puts new homework up.
He
You
does?
noticed that, right?
I didn't.
Yeah. Like while we're sitting here, like all of a sudden homework just pop up.
That's kind of funny. He's like, let me just throw a
Sneak attack
curveball.
these kids, yeah.
Exactly. Has he put up one today?
I'm gonna look right now. See him put up here. See, look, he took out the homework today while we were talking.
He's a multitasker,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
He pretty much ate all of our homework. There's nothing here.
Until for next week now.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Over the weekend, I make it a point for like Saturday mornings or whatever. Just do all of the process.
Yes. It's a lot easier to do it ahead of time.
Yeah. Because then scrambling, forget
Just
it.
give me the label.
It was too stressful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a stress-free year.
Which other one are you taking? What other class are you taking?
I'm taking this semester part-time, so I only have this class, Tuesday and Thursday, and then Saturday chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have chemistry with Distasio?
No, I have Denise. Denise Burchill, do you know her?
No, I know what you're talking about.
last semester and I failed.
Yeah.
Distasio was cool.
And
I
so
heard good
when
things about him.
because I knew I was gonna fail, I withdrew from it, and then when I had to take it
Save all the
again,
books.
I don't know,
All
don't
the
remember.
assignments, all the
It's really hard.
awesome.
And so then when
This
I
professor
had to
so
take it
far,
to get my,
we haven't used any
I have
textbooks
to,
yet.
so
We've just been using like his packet going, I guess
I'm
like
not really
experiment by
but
experiment,
like online, it's
and then like taking notes in lecture.
Yeah, I teach. I have 8.
Because I don't also like nosy, but it's on there.
Yeah.
It's only 70. I took accelerated for my first semester here, it was virtual, because I had 6 accelerated classes.
Yeah, and
We do have a quiz coming up for that class and this class
I
now.
think it's just harder because like it's so much packed into 1 week instead of instead of having like 3 chapters in a whole
Wow.
in a whole week, 3 chapters.
You have nice handwriting.
Just that today. Yeah, for that class I had.
Well, your notebook, it looks clear.
It's a lot of math.
next class always starts off with 24, the full class. There will be 5. Deans, administrators, everybody. This class isn't for everybody.
For chemistry?
Without jobs.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like when I was taking my acceleration classes, I was working and I just had a newborn, so like I like could not keep up with my schoolwork.
Bacterial load and things like that. But in the end, he gave us
Yeah.
4 weeks to do it. And everything we divided it. You do one
My whole goal is to get you guys through. It's just, so if they're gonna offer it, great, I'll teach it, because the success rate is so terrible, and the student evaluation is so bad. So I have 10
4
years,
days before
say
the
bad
due
stuff
date?
last week, I don't care.
Yeah.
I know it's a bad class. And the thing is, it's not a bad class. It just shouldn't be offered.
No.
It's a bad system.
I would have to write a note to the professor. I've done something like that before, and like,
7 weeks
no. I wouldn't do that again.
Honestly, any class.
He found out that
Statistics should not be offered.
I don't know what he did with the other students, but I got an A.
That's good. You deserve that. I don't understand.
I can't believe that they don't
That's why.
You'd be surprised.
And 5 finish, everybody else is
so many things.
Lots of people try to take the easy way out.
This is important in chemistry. Do all your practice problems.
Yeah, I have to start mine.
You gotta do them. That's the only way to learn. Sometimes their formula is not exactly the one you should use
How do you mean?
because the formula that the professor will show you is sometimes not the best one. Sometimes you go on YouTube.
Like Khan Academy and stuff?
Sometimes you find a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Most of the time the teacher is right. The way that this.
So, and I'll talk
There were a couple
but yeah,
times.
you're right, because
Yeah,
Watch it online.
no, I don't expect you to. Like, and I'll do
I agree with that. And that's what got me through high school, I think. Khan Academy and like those YouTubers with like the colorful markers and stuff.
I didn't have any of that. My distraction. Back in Stone Age, you know,
Gotta do the old go to the library, book and paper.
it was tough.
I can imagine, or at least I can't imagine, I should say.
Yeah. You had to actually study with books and no computer. We didn't have one computer in high school. It was all books. Like, of course, they were library, they were available.
I can still remember like when we got our first MacBooks in class with the cards, the computer cards.
So let's go through
So
this.
long ago. Crazy how times change.
Alright, identify the variables. The explanatory variable here is, yeah, whenever I write this out, I end up going, I will say that this is PSHSGT. What? I'll use this. Or I'll just be like, okay, whatever, this
I
is
hope he
PR.
explains what that is.
Participation rate. I'm just gonna leave it as that, just call it a day. Right, so that's how I think about it, participation rate. Alright, the response variable.
Median state SAT math score. Good job, guys.
Median state SAT math score. Median state SAT math score.
Wait.
Right?
Where do I have to write it?
Absolutely, 100%. And in fact, it's kind of funny because like there's two people who are missing today. So if you give them their notes, don't tell them what these letters mean. I have had students that'll put this stuff on an exam when it's about like commute times. They're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna put that in the letters there because it's written all over your guys' notes. And it makes me laugh.
No.
I know, it's a little trouble thing. Alright, the cases.
States?
All 50 states, yes. It is not the students. No, every single one of those dots there is a state. That state has got a specific participation rate of seniors who took the SAT, and it has an average SAT score of those who took it. Right, does that make sense? It is not the students. Yeah.
We could put like, states across the United States.
Oh, that's terrible.
Isn't it just the Midwest?
That's the same thing as the states. Right, isn't that the same thing as the states?
Yes.
Alright, describe the, let me see here, so, let's go through this. Is there a gap?
Yes, one.
Where is the gap located?
35 to 45.
5, 10, 6.
As long as you guys are all saying roughly the same values, I don't care. Like I said, it's between 35 and 50. Except for, it's 35 to 50 what? Percent taking the exam. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, you have to do the label.
I know for clusters you said you have to do the X and the Y, but for gaps you have to do the same thing.
Yeah, except for there's no gaps here. Like, the way that I visualize this, if you take all this data and just smush it along the x-axis, you definitely see a gap here.
Yeah.
So now take all this and smush it along the y-axis,
There
and you see.
wouldn't, so
Okay.
just that is acceptable.
Right, for this one right here, that it's just, I see one clearly in the middle vertically,
Okay,
right? But there could be like one that's missing here, and I have a bunch of data there, and I have a bunch of data down here.
okay.
So it does
So it's
happen.
either X or Y.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not gonna be both.
okay.
Alright, how many clusters? Two. So let's do the first cluster. Let's do this guy up here. Where is that one located? 5 to 35% participation rate. And
510 to 615.
510 to 615 SAT math score. Yes, you need them both.
Should we label which one is
If you
X
do
and which one is
35,
Y?
610.
No, you don't need to do that.
Okay. Can you do it in X, Y, like 5%?
No, nobody, you guys aren't math people, so don't do it like a math person. Alright, so let me do this again because I know that this is going to cause confusion. For the clusters, you have to do both variables to identify where the cluster is. So, when I take this blob right here and I squish it down, it goes from 5 to 35 participation rate. So I would say the first cluster is between 5 and 35 participation rate. And now take this blob and just squish it over here. What? 500 to 600?
Okay.
And I would say that, okay, so the first cluster is between 5 and 35 participation rate, and 500 to 600 SAT math score. You need both variables. This is why. How much points is that?
I'm not. You know this and the people describe things on the same thing.
No, I said I'm going to.
Oh,
What?
I was gonna say, we could do like 535, 600. Okay.
As long as you're roughly the same thing, right?
how much was it to be on the
73. Alright, that's my first cluster.
easy point? I understand it.
Now you guys know how to do this, so where is my second cluster located?
45 to
Between 50%.
Okay, so she said 45 to 82, you are saying
50 to 80.
50 to 85. Aren't they all about the same thing? But then you have to make sure to put that label.
So you have to do both.
Participation. And, right, so between 50 and 85 participation rate, and,
5, 4, 7,
you guys are like saying a bunch of numbers at me, whatever that is for the SAT math score, right? Again, you have to do both chunks, you have to do both variables. You have to do the X variable and the Y variable, and then label them. What are the numbers that they range from? And then put whatever they are. Let's see. I'm sorry. You good?
Yes.
Okay. Gaps?
Wait, so it's 45 to 80. Taking
Percent taking data. And also, don't forget this.
Oh yeah, I put what did you put?
Just make sure you have your label on there. SAT master. Alright, outliers.
This is the big one outlier.
Yeah, I said that there's one. I think that we all said there's one. So I would say that there is one outlier at what, 18 participation rate and 515 SAT math score. And again, your numbers just need to be similar. They don't need to, right? If I say it's 18 and you say it's 43, then there's a problem. If you say it's 20 and I say it's 18, yeah, whatever, it's all the same. But remember, you have to put that label on there. Okay, does that make sense? Except for, like, I just did this. Like, if I scroll out, does that still look like an outlier?
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't think. Like, is that right there significantly different than the trend? I don't think so. I don't know. But the way that it was presented, like this, that it definitely looks like an outlier. Like, when I zoom out, it doesn't really look that much different. Alright, a line or a curve. I think that there's a curve. Right?
Where?
It looks like a slide.
There. That is a lot. Oh, now. Right. I actually drew a curve. Yeah,
I drew the curve.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
Right, that is a curve. There is a curve relationship. Is it increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. What does that mean?
So as the person graduates, taking the exam increases, the median stay SAT math score.
Yes, as the participation rate increases, the SAT score decreases. Now, strong, moderate, weak, moderate. right? It's not very tightly clustered, it's just kind of about the same all the way through, so I would say that there's a constant, moderate strength throughout the entire thing. Yeah. Alright, then the last one.
What did you say it was?
Constant moderate. Alright, the last one. Are there explanations for the variable? Yeah.
So it would still be constant even though there's like a big gap in the middle.
Yeah, I think so because, again, I'm like, okay, so if this is my width, I understand that yours is different, but I'm like going like this all the way through and it's about the same.
Okay.
Right, I'm not trying to like make this more specific than it needs to be, so yeah, it's about the same.
Okay.
So, with the Chinese
Okay. Why would more people taking it result in less scores? And before I unleash this on you guys, whenever I ask students this, like somebody will say, oh, well, the scores go down when more people take it. And I'm like, yeah, that's literally why I'm asking. I'm asking you that. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, well, because more people take it, the score goes down. I'm like, no. Outside of the box, why would, as more people take it, would the score actually go down? Yeah.
Maybe like if a lot of people are taking it, less of those people are inclined to like study or something, so
Yeah.
do worse on it.
Yeah, you guys are really close. Like all of you guys are kind of on the same thing. So the SAT is actually based out of Iowa. It's in the Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest, so I had to take the SAT. What's the other test that you can take? ACT. The ACT. That's out of. I think it's out of Massachusetts. It's on the East Coast. So typically, students who take the ACT are they're East Coast students. So for me, let's just kind of look at what happened to me. Like, my valedictorian went to the University of Houston, and he has a PhD in physics now. Yeah, this dude was like incredible. How do you think that he scored on the SATs?
Really well.
Really well. I mean, he got a whole right down to Houston. My salutatorian went to the University of Notre Dame, not the school, the actual University of Notre Dame. Then he went off to Michigan State. He works for the Census Bureau. How do you think he did on the SATs? Really well. I was 34th in my class. Sounds impressive, right?
I would say moderately well.
Out of 40.
There were 83 people. Does that sound better or worse?
Worse.
I actually graduated high school with academic honors. Yeah, and in fact, my principal had to come, right? I have it on my diploma. The principal was actually like, because there's like 1 through 16 all had academic honors, and then me. And he's like, I actually had to go through and recheck to make sure that you actually did this. I was like, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but thank you. But yeah, I was 34th in my class out of 83. What do you think happened to the SAT scores when you include people like me compared to the PhD in physics and the Census Bureau Masters of whatever? What do you think I did in that SAT score?
They drop.
I took it down to, I call it a nice respectable level, is what I say. So if you only include the top 10% of my class, and understand that's only 8 students, right? I'm very, very rural is where I grew up. That's here. They all scored really, really well. What type of student is going to only take the SAT if you are on the East Coast?
Do mathematical.
Yes.
Smart kids.
You have to, because like all of you guys from here.
Yeah.
Why would you be willing to travel 700, 800, 900 miles away to go to a school? Would you be willing to do that? Exactly. If you're getting paid for everything. What type of student is going to get a full ride?
Smart kids.
So for me, we never even took the ACT. It was never even a consideration because I was never going to an East Coast school. Right? There's 3 state schools in Indiana. I went to one of the state schools. Right? So that's it. That's just what you do. I don't even know if there's like I can't even think of 5 private schools in that entire state, and I grew up in all of them, northern, middle, and the bottom. So it just doesn't happen. So if a student here, this is where you guys are correct. A very small proportion of the students are taking the SAT here because they're better. To go to a better school, they're going to be better students, so they're going to score much better. Does that make sense? Here, these are all me. I didn't score 600 on the SAT. I don't even think I broke 1,000. I'm pretty sure I got a 580 and a 380.
I got 10, 15.
See? You did better than I did.
That's what.
This is why I say that, college education is, and it's not how smart you are, it's more dedicated. Okay, does this make sense?
So how would you write that?
I would write it as a state with a smaller proportion is going to have better students taking the exam. States with a smaller participation rate is going to have better students taking the exam. Does that make sense? And when you have a state that has like 80, 90%, well, that's no longer the cream of the crop of the students. Last thing. Hi. Everybody stare at me. No, I'm not talking now. Give me a second. And then I'll get you guys out of here. This is an example that you guys can actually do. You guys can actually make sense for. This is that hot dog example, right? These are the calorie contents of different brands of hot dog. This is the sodium content of different brands of hot dog. Why would this have this trend? Why would a hot dog have more calories and more sodium? What would be an extraneous variable or a lurking variable there? Tastes bad. Also, what's another thing? What it's made out of, preservatives, all these things. So that's easier for students to understand, right? I don't expect you guys to come up with the SAT scores and all that stuff. That's a big jump. This, it's a little bit easier to do. So on the exam, if I ask you for some type of lurking variable like this, I'm not going to make it some obscure fact that nobody knows. It'll be something that you will be able to put together. Okay, does this make sense? Yeah. Just for future reference, that is what you guys have just done is a massive pet peeve of mine. Everybody's like packing up, ready to go. We still have like 5 minutes. I could totally talk for another 5 minutes just to make you guys stay for the entire amount of time, just to drive you nuts. I know, thank you. It's almost like whatever, I don't know if this is a generational thing, but if somebody's talking to you and they purposely pull out their phone and then they start to look at their phone, is that rude?
Yes.
I think it's happened way too much. But yet, so, no, I mean this is a real thing, and now I'll get you guys out of here. Is that a real thing? Like, is that rude?
Yeah.
Thank you! Because when I'm on my phone and I'm doing things and my wife comes up and starts to talk to me, suddenly I'm the asshole because I'm not paying attention to her when she clearly sees I am looking at my phone.
I mean, she has a point. You should
No,
write
she
that
doesn't. She does not. Just like you guys do not have right to pack up. Just as long as one person does it, it's like a virus. It just goes throughout the entire thing, and then the class just like leaves. And I can have like really I'm very limited on time on this class. You guys can see I don't have time to go back and I don't have time to do things. So I try to be as efficient as I possibly can. So once one person goes, the entire class is gone. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, I try to get you guys out of here. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys what's going on about my weekend. So I appreciate this. All right, that's it. You guys can do it. Now you guys can go and do whatever. You guys have a great weekend. There is only homework online. That's it. But I don't think you're going to get very far. You won't get very far until Monday.